Hello, my name's Robert Dean Steele, and I have been reading through the Psalms. Psalm chapter 3, or Psalm 3, is actually a psalm of David when he had fled from his son Absalom. Listen to what David says here. O Lord, how many are my foes? How many rise up against me? So he's saying, Lord, there are some people out there that want to do me harm. There are individuals that would love to see me cease to exist. And they seem like they are many. And of course, when Absalom led this rebellion against David, the majority of the nation actually were following him, and they thought that he would be a better king than David did. He says, Many are saying of him, the Lord will not deliver him. There were, of course, different counselors like Ahithophel and others who had betrayed David and were now on the side of Absalom because they saw it as a new era and as a change. David, of course, had a particular style, and it was interesting that Absalom had a different style and was able to bring that. And people were looking for change. And they would say, well, the Lord's not going to deliver him. This is the end of David's reign. But you are a shield around me, O Lord. You bestow glory on me and lift up my head. So here is David saying, listen, Lord, I need you to be a shield. I need you to protect me. I am using my faith. Now, in the New Testament, of course, we have that wonderful promise, Lord, where you said that you will give us a shield of faith that will be able to extinguish every fiery dart of the enemy. And here is David also saying, Lord, you bestow your character, your nature, and your essence upon me. But also, as well, you have given me favor and also divine intervention on this particular thing. And you lift up my head. That means that the Lord in this moment is going to help him to rise above his enemies. He says, To the Lord I cried aloud, and he answered me from his holy hill. He said, Lord, I called to you. And I know that you've answered me. Isn't that great to know that even before the request is out of our mouth, the answer is already on the way? That's what the angel Gabriel reminded Daniel in Daniel 9:23 and Daniel 10:12. Here, 500 years before, David had the assurance that God was going to answer. And then you see that word Selah or Selah. Either way, it means let's think about this for just a moment. Think about the power of prayer and how the power of prayer can absolutely revolutionize the situation that we find ourselves in. Because we're looking for divine help. We're looking for divine intervention. We're telling the Lord what's going on in our situation. I lie down and sleep. I wake up again because the Lord sustains me. He says, this is a bad situation, but I know that the Lord is going to sustain me. I know the Lord has heard my cry, and he's going to be able to help me to be able to win the battle that needs to happen. He says, I will not fear the tens of thousands drawn up against me from every side. David was well aware of what was going on. He had his army, and of course, Absalom had his army. Now, it was interesting that Ahithophel said, Give me 1,000 of all the tribes of Israel, and I will go after David and I will defeat him. But then there was another counselor that David had left, and he says, No, what you need to do is gather all the men of Israel together, and you will lead them against David. And of course, that was stroking the ego of Absalom at the time, because he was looking at himself not only as king, but as a great military man. That, of course, would be his downfall. But David was well aware of the size and breadth of the army that was against him. Then he says, Arise, O Lord, deliver me, O my God. Strike all my enemies on the jaw and break the teeth of the wicked. He says, Lord, I am going to go into battle against this individual. But Lord, I'm going to need you to help me to win this battle. You see, David understood that there are times where we have to fight battles we don't want to fight, that we have to enter in. Now, it was also interesting that when David went to go into battle, his general said, no, you can't do that. If you die, then the dream of David dies with you. No. And so Joab and his brother Abiathar went into battle against, of course, Absalom, and won the battle. He says, from the Lord comes deliverance. May your blessing be on your people. So David had confidence that God was going to give him the victory and also deliverance. And he says, may the blessing of the Lord be upon the people. Ultimately, David understood that he was a man's after God's own heart, but he was also the king and servant of the people. He wasn't the master. You see, Absalom wanted to be the master. David understood that leadership has to do with service. It has to do with being responsible to the people. And so that's why he said, Lord, let your best blessing be upon the people. A little thought for you from Psalm chapter 3. My name is Robert Dean Steele. Thanks for spending time with me.